Jason. Jason. Open the SD tray door, Jason. Format a card. Jason. It's been an entire week, Jason. Jason. Wake up, Jason. 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 Jason.
Hey everybody, Jason here. Today I'm going to work on an iPhone 6 Plus that was sent here as board only for half backlight and touch IC failure. Let's see what we're getting into. First thing I'm going to do is show you what this phone looks like. There we go. Let's press the power button and we get beautiful, beautiful right side iPhone 6 Plus half backlight. And if we're really, really, really loving with it and we touch it just right, we can get some really pretty touch IC failure symptoms out of it. So let's let this phone boot up. Let's let this thing boot up and get it out of this housing because we're going to fix it. And I'm going to fix it in front of a camera. Now, since this is an iPhone 6 Plus, I'm not going to do any troubleshooting whatsoever. I am simply going to repair the board. So let's set test housing out of the way, test screen out of the way. Here is our iPhone 6 Plus board. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do is remove some of this crap. Down here, a lot of these components are very poorly soldered. And step one on a touch IC repair for me to be sure that we don't have any issues with Touch ID are clearing back these few components over here. It's much easier to clear them back now instead of later after there's a problem, because then that is a pain in the ass. So we're just going to flick this stuff right up off the top of here, acting like I've done this once or twice before. And I'm not using near enough heat to melt anything. This is just to soften up this rubbery stuff. Okay, so that's about as far as I go to prevent us from having any Touch ID issues. And then next, I'm going to prevent us from having any issues with proximity sensor, Siri mic, front-facing features here next to this flex. So let's heat this up a little farther. It doesn't seem soft enough. My mind is drifting. Such routine stuff here. I'm starting to drift off and think about other things. That's one thing about this type of work and just about anything. Once you start to get to be too comfortable with it, that's when you make mistakes. That's when some of the worst mistakes happen. Now, mind you, if you're like or really nervous and shaky and stuff like that, then you can make a lot of mistakes too. But I think the worst... How did that get out of focus? It's because my mat raised up. Sorry, guys. I think some of the worst mistakes that are made from being too comfortable and not from being a lack of comfort. That's when some of the worst mistakes can be made, and that's true for scuba diving, flying, anything dangerous, not just repair. So, all right, let's get the shield off of this board, and let's go ahead and peel the back sticker as well. Sticker is gone. Let's get the shield off here because half backlight is going to be right side half backlight is going to be the right side driver, and we're getting ready to find out how underfilled this is. Nothing like getting your butt vibrated right in the middle of a video. No, thank you. Alright, and let's see what our half backlight right side iPhone 6 Plus half backlight driver is looking today. Let's see what it looks like. This one is underfilled. Oh, just ignore this little blob of solder down here. That was me. Let's get that out of the way. Let's edit that out. Let's pretend like that didn't happen. Alright, so I am going to tape that down to the table. I started this video hoping that we didn't have an underfilled backlight driver. Should probably check and see if it's actually the driver, but come on, man. This is an iPhone 6 Plus. Should I check and see? It's always the right side backlight driver. I'm telling you what, if there's not a visible blown filter here, and there's not, this thing is getting the right side backlight driver replaced. Now, one thing that I will say on the iPhone 6 Plus right side backlight driver, I have had these things come off the board just completely ripped to shit before. Like, already, like, ripped up. You know, traces and pads torn. It's like, God, how did I tear 5 pads? Well, sometimes these things are sitting here like hot butter, and they're ready to fall apart. So, let's start heating this board up. I'm going to chop around the underfill on this right side backlight driver. And going along with what I said about being too comfortable, we're going to add just a tiny bit of alcohol here so that I can be certain, there it is, that I'm not being too comfortable, because I would like to mark pin 1. We're going to say pin 1 is right here. Alright, let's start heating this thing up. And for the sake of keeping my image clear, we're going to kick this mat aside. Oh, this is so much better without that mat. Alright, so we're going to get this cut around the best that we can. Yeah, I had one of these. I ran 5 jumpers under it, man. Golly. Oops. Alright, we're starting to be a little more gentle here. I don't want to break anything. I'm worried if I break that driver. That's a piece of crap. Honestly, it's not the driver. It's that it's came unsoldered. It's the same thing that broke the connection on the Mason IC. It's directly on the other side of the board from it. I'm going to switch irons. I'm switching to my 2027 handle. And I don't know which tip number it is, but I'm going to be using an elongated angle tip. It's linked in my description. I think it's like long bent tip. Let's get a little flex on the scene here and continue to warm this up. Alright, I'm up to temp far enough now. I'm going to stick my blade underneath here. And I'm going to start checking this thing for melted balls. I don't know if I can get to them on this one or not, but I should be able to tell when this is getting close. There it is. And I knocked one of our little resistors off here. We're going to go ahead and pop that back into place right away while the board's hot. Alright, let's not fiddle with that too much longer until we smooth out the pads. Now, right away you can see what the issue here is. I don't think you can see it, but I'm going to zoom in a little farther, and then you probably can. Let's get right down on top of this IC. Boy, it's really hard to tell. Okay, so let's take the board out from under my tape, and let's cock it up on its side so I can try to show you this. See, we've got some of these balls are still balls, and you can see where the chip came off the top. Well, we've got a couple of pads here that are completely oxidized, and this is most likely, see these pads here on the right? These are completely oxidized, and that's most likely going to be the source of the backlight failure on this phone. I put the wrong tip on here. I am going to want to use my beveled wedge because I have room for it. Yeah, we're going to fix the backlight and then fix Touch IC. Okay, so we got a little flux there where the backlight driver was. I hope I didn't call that chestnut. I might have. Barely enough room here. Let's just get right in here and smooth these out. Alright, that is marvelous. Get some of this goo out of here. Trying to take any pads with it. Because I don't want anything getting in my way. Like when this goes to sit down on here, to have something blocking it that I could have gotten rid of is a royal drag. Really careful here not to scratch the PCB. Oh, and my nerves just remembered that I have a camera recording. Do you see that? It started the jitter. That's because I'm recording. And if the frame rate starts to jitter, that's because I got the bit rate cranked back up. Oh dear, I lost our little resistor. Didn't I? I would expect to find it in my Q-tip. Yeah, there it is. See, I'm digging around in my Q-tip here. Okay, so there is our resistor back on the board. Okay, let's go ahead and solder that back in place before I lose it again, and then we're going to drop an IC on this board. So before I heat it up, let me grab a backlight driver. We're going to have that standing by ready to sit on the board because we only want to heat it up once or as few a times possible. That's the old one. I dropped the new one right next to the old one. Okay. Alright, we're going to put this resistor back in place. There we go. I did see what I think might have been a little piece of the cap off of it, but that's not going to cause us an issue today. So we've got that resistor right back down in place. Now let's grab us a a driver. Here. Okay, let's get some more flux on it. Yeah, we're going to do this, make sure backlight works, and then I'm going to repair touch IC failure. Don't make me look like an idiot on my video. There. Hoping that little line I see on this coil isn't from something else blown and I'm an idiot. Alright, let's let this thing cool for a second and then let's test it. Alright, while that cools, I'm going to plug this thing into a screen. I'm going to plug it into my supply just in case nothing happens and I'll get an idea of actually what is happening. Alright, 6 plus. Alright, spin over here with the microscope. And power the board on. Did I miss? Sometimes I miss it. Milliamps. Yay, we have full backlight. Was it a lucky guess? No. No, not a lucky guess. The next thing I'm going to fix is touch IC failure. And to do that, I'm going to tape this thing back down to the table. Actually, we're going to leave it off the table for now. I'm going to switch you over to Microscope, and we are going to remove only the Mason IC. Yeah, remove only the Mason IC. I don't think there's sufficient damage across that board for me to be worried about cumulus, and as you'll notice, there is our right side backlight driver. Directly on the other side of the board is our Mason IC. Same flex, same problem, same issue. So let's add a little bit of flux to our ICs. Okay, here we go. This will be the final heating. Up and off we go. And a lot of times I go ahead and I give cumulus just the slightest little bit of a nudge. I do give it a few seconds of cooldown time, but not much. There we go, a little gentle refloat on cumulus. And now I am going to clean all the pads off here where Mason goes. And to do that, I'm using my beveled tip, and I'm pushing it flat on the board. Not really pushing, just sort of gliding over it. You get a good feel for it. And we're going to use this blob of solder here I'm packing around to pull up the rest of this solder because size is king. And this big ball will suck in all the rest. And you didn't see me do that. That's okay though. I've got at least a half a dozen touch IC videos online, so clean this up. And I'm going to go ahead and clear back our M1 trace so it is ready to receive a jumper. I don't know why I always grab the dirtiest knife that I have on the table when I'm doing a video. Let's use this one. Okay, that is ready for an M1 jumper. We're going to set that aside, and I still refer to the M1 jumper as the true fix. What was I doing? Oh yeah, I was looking for an IC so I could put new balls on it. I finally got some new flux, or some new solder paste, so you won't have to see me straining with all my might to squeeze out the tiniest little bit of drop. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and clear off all this old crap. One little drop of flux. Yeah, let's get this back in view so that we can actually include this in today's repair video. You'll just have to let your OCD rest here for a minute while that remains on my screen crooked because I'm not straightening it. Okay, let's grab our beloved new tube of solder paste. I should put the cap on that. Okay. Dun 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 da da. Start warming this up. There won't be any editing here. I did just now push the button on that station. You see solder melting? So any of you that seen my video where it looked like it took my air station a long time to heat up, this thing heats up like quick, like really quick. There we go. My reball is almost done. Let those solidify. I'm going to push on the table a little bit more in hopes to get my chip quick to hold the chip down. And it did. And then we're going to reflow to center all of the beautiful, symmetrical, non-hairy balls. We'll set that aside. Now we're going to switch irons, which, by the way, I'm going to invest in another station really soon because I'm sick of switching irons. And I will be very excited to say that it's going to be the first piece of equipment that's actually been 100% funded by this YouTube channel, which is totally, totally exciting. All right, so we have our right side backlight fixed, and we have our IC reballed, which it's not a problem with the ICs, it's the logic board itself. The ICs can become detached from the board, and that's where touch IC failure comes into play. I did run into one yesterday that was actually oxidized pads under Cumulus, which is like the first one in dozens. I'm talking dozens. Few enough to where you don't want to do that repair on each one. You don't want to do Cumulus on every single one of them no matter what, because you're opening the doors wide open for other problems. And I can tell you, since I went back to only doing Mason only, I have had one searching one searching no service phone. Now, it still happens once in a while, but I feel like my odds are a lot lower now that I'm doing one of the ICs, the one that is actually the problem, and moving on. So, all right, we have it reballed. We have our PCB ready to receive a jumper. And then the next thing I'm going to do here is grab us a jumper. So, I've used a lot of different wires for this, and I keep coming back to soldering wick. I mean, it's so easy, and there's no coating on it, and I only need a tiny little piece of wire anyway. So, let's grab a hunk of wire off of here. There we go. I try not to cut the wire too small because it really sucks to lose it. Like if you cut this teeny tiny little wire, yeah, see? Friggin' lost it. It's gone. Like, really? So if your wire's too small, you cut this teeny tiny little piece of wire and then you lose it, and it's so hard to find, and then you're stuck with a stray piece of wire. See how big that wire is sticking out over here? You'd be stuck with a stray piece of wire and not sure where it's at, and that sucks. What if it was up under the edge of a chip, or you just, man, you don't want to lose a piece of wire, especially a piece of this wire that's not insulated on a board. That would be awful. Alright, so we're going to get this rotated just a little bit. I'm going to sit my jumper right there. I'm using a toothpick to apply flux to that spot. I'm going to tin my tip and then wipe it off. I'm going to tack this jumper right here before the bend first. Right there. And then I typically come in right up above the bend. I'm using the wrong tweezers. I'm going to switch hands. I come in right up above the bend and straighten this wire out with my trace. There we go. And I'm going to solder it there. I am making sure to line it up with the trace because of surface tension. I have become really used and accustomed to using surface tension to do some of my dirty work. And oops. There we go. Surface tension will do a wonderful job holding this jumper in place while I sit a chip on top of it. So let's cut off our slag. There we go. And for the sake of this repair video, I'm going to use a little bit of alcohol on that jumper so that I can show you what it looks like. These cameras do not focus worth a crap through flux. So here's my M1 jumper. Plenty of solder on it. I would have liked it to stick more to the via, but we're going to be okay. In fact, solder may flow there whenever I heat it. But that's it. Nothing special. I maybe cut it just a little too long. But we're not going to nitpick on that. Now we're going to put a chip on this board. Hope to God touch works and backlight still works. Yeah, it'll be nice not switching irons anymore. But hard to justify the amount of money that it takes to get a multi-channel station. So here I am. And I will be thanking all of you for watching these videos, for commenting, for subscribing. It'll be big thanks to all of my viewers for putting this equipment on my bench. So look forward to that in the very near future. As always, when it's a significant improvement, I'm going to be unboxing and installing it in front of a camera, especially whenever it is something that I have as a direct result of this YouTube channel. So here's our orientation. Got our orientation right. I am going to give this hot air just a minute to heat up. I'm at 350C. 360, 70, 80, 390, which is where I do most of my work. And let's true this chip up. It's going to go here. Dun da da da. We're heating the board. And it's about ready to fall right onto the balls. Da da. There we go. We're going to let that cool off for just a second. And then I'm going to clean this up with alcohol. I used to ultrasonic clean every last one of them, but I am no longer that picky. I just make sure there's not a bunch of flux sitting all over the place on the board, and that it is really clean to the look. this looks really good, and the next thing I'm going to do here is put our shield back on it. So here is our CPU shield. Let's set it right there. Do not make me look dumb in front of my cameras. Ow! Man, that hot air is blowing out some hot air. Good Lord. Okay, let's see it being a little molten. I'm going to push. Get her around her edges. Just don't heat it far enough to float the CPU. Pushing on it, that would just be terrible. Alright, and we let it cool. Sometimes I wind up coming back around to the corners and hitting these corners separately. This one I'm going to. So we're going to go ahead and get back here. The beep you just heard is the camera taking pictures of my shelving. I got it turned on just to make sure I'm not running around in my underpants over there in front of those shelves whenever that thing takes a picture and uploads it to the website. Alright, while the board's still hot, it's a perfect time to put the sticker back on it. Damn it. These stickers stick really, really, really well whenever they're hot. So I like to put the sticker back on there nice and flat. They almost look completely factory when I'm done. And then I flip it over on its own weight to cool. And the next thing we're going to do is test this board. I think we are cooled off well enough to test this now. For testing, I am going to put it back into a housing. Oops. And I will connect the bottom antenna, because with Touch IC failure, it's important to verify that you do not have a flaw with carrier service after your repair. Now, some of your customers may try to blame that on you. Most of them will not, because most of the people that are willing to send their phone across the country to get it repaired are willing to listen to what the guy who's working on it has to say. And searching no service is a flaw that happens spontaneously. It happens after screen replacements. It happens after drops. It happens for a lot of reasons, but it also happens after Touch IC failure. Now, it's not the Touch IC repair. It's not the repair itself that causes it, but it's more like something that's hanging by a thread, and the repair cuts it off. That is not a repair that I am currently accepting. I have been hearing some stories of success, but not enough for me to take the sort of gamble on time that it takes to straighten something like that out. So, let's go ahead and power on this phone. We have replaced our right side backlight driver, and we have now reballed the Mason IC and installed the M1 jumper that's going to prevent the flickering gray bars from recurring. So, pushing power button right now. We have full backlight. And let's let this phone boot. Alright, so we're booted with a clean image. We're booted with touch so far. Little software update windows sometimes will pop up right next to Touch ID. Like, it'll pop up with You know, no SIM card, and you go to hit OK, and then just as you hit OK, it's the install button on software update, and it's like, no. All right. So we have working touch, and well, a lot of times with touch, I like to grab a fixed point, hold the battery connected, and then push a little bit on the board, and we're making sure this thing does not drop touch. So the solder job on my ICs is good. So this phone, we have repaired half backlight, and we have repaired touch IC failure. The two are caused by the exact same thing, which is a poor design of a bendy flexi board. So I have a few other things to do on this phone. I'm going to hook a full screen assembly up to it. I'm going to check the cameras, mics, and speakers and make sure it gets serviced, and then this thing is going to get sent back to the rightful owner so that they can give it back to the rightful owner. So thanks for watching, everybody. Thank you for all your likes, your comments, your subs. Totally awesome. I hope you have successful repairs like this one, and I hope you get paid really good for it too. So that's it for this video, and I will see you next time. Have a good day, everybody.